The Roman conquest of Iberia was a centuries-long process of successive conflicts waged by Rome against the native peoples of the peninsula. Amongst these, few had such a significant struggle as the city of Numantia and the decade-long war it waged against Rome. To the Romans, this would become one of the most enduring memories of their wars and conflicts with the Celtiberian people, an example of perseverance and endurance even in the face of total annihilation. Numantia was a Celtiberian settlement located in a mountainous region in northern central Iberia, close to the upper Douro River. According to Strabo, the city would become one of the centres of power of the Arawaki, a local Celtiberian tribe. Numantia was a typical city-state, controlling a vast area of satellite settlements strategically placed to guarantee agricultural production and control over their area of influence and roads. The city's economy was based around livestock farming, particularly sheep farming. Agriculture was also practiced, with particular emphasis on barley and wheat, which were also used for making beer. The inhabitants' diet was further supplemented by the foresting of wild fruits, particularly acorns and walnuts, and hunting. The Numantines were dependent on regional trade to sustain their population, buying cereals from surrounding cities and tribes such as Vivakai. Not much is known about the history of Numantia until 179 BCE, when the peace treaty of the First Celtiberian War was signed between the Romans and the conquered Celtiberian tribes. Although Numantia wasn't part of this treaty, soon it would have repercussions on its population. Segeda, a nearby Celtiberian settlement that had been conquered, started building new reinforced walls, which the previous treaty explicitly forbade, sparking the Second Celtiberian War in 154 BCE. Consequently, the Roman Senate sent the consul Quintus Fulvius Nobilior together with a 30,000-strong army to subdue the rebellious city, arriving in Iberia the following year. As the walls of Segeda had not yet been sufficiently strengthened, the local population fled as soon as the news of a Roman force arrived, seeking refuge in Numantia, which the city accepted. For this, Numantia was dragged into the war, along with a coalition of Celtiberian and Celtic tribes. Initially, the locals achieved some victories against the Roman general. However, hostilities would soon cease, with the coalition handing money and hostages in exchange for peace. Nevertheless, hostilities with Rome would resume in 143 BCE, when Viriatus, amidst his rebellion against Rome, pleaded with the Celtiberian tribes to join him. Numantia agreed, and together with the other Arawaki tribes, declared war on Rome, starting the Numantine War. If you want to know more about Viriatus and his war, we have a video about this very topic, which we'll link in the description below. Although at the beginning of the war, the Romans saw victory after victory, there was a city they just couldn't conquer, Numantia. Due to its strategic location, being atop a hill, surrounded by rivers, ravines or woods on all sides, Numantia was extremely hard to besiege. This, together with their 8,000 brave and tough soldiers, proved to be too much for the Roman army to handle, who suffered defeat after defeat, even though they greatly outnumbered the Numantines. Many a Roman general came and went, but the outcome was always the same: defeat. This never-ending wave of defeats made the Roman populace grow tired of the war, and in an attempt to quickly end it, they selected one of their best generals as consul in order to defeat the tribal coalition, Scipio Aemilianus, son of the famous Scipio Africanus, responsible for the defeat of Carthage in the Second Punic War. Scipio, noticing the pitiful state of the army he inherited, immediately sought to discipline and enlarge it. Through rigorous training and the financial backing of his political allies, he managed to assemble a well-disciplined army of 60,000 legionaries and assorted mercenaries. Wishing to pacify the Numantines once and for all, Scipio laid siege to the city. Seeking to completely cut the city off from the outside world, he would order the construction of 7 forts around the city, connected by a moat and fence, a project not entirely dissimilar from the famous siege waged by Caesar barely a century later at Alesia. Cut off from the outside world with ever-dwindling supplies, the Numantines quickly began to lose heart. Desperate to break the siege, a brave warrior, one Retiganese, managed to slip through the enemy lines in the hope of rallying reinforcements to the city. Unfortunately, his efforts would be for naught, as the other Arawaki tribes had been intimidated by the Romans and dared not to defy them, lest they suffer the same fate as Numantia. Only one city, Lotia, offered to help Retiganese, but their efforts were leaked to the Romans by the city's elite, and the city was swiftly occupied, with the rebels being punished, yet the rest of the city spared. Following this failure, the Numantine leader, Avarus, tried to sue for peace with Scipio, offering him lenient terms while pleading with him to pardon the brave Numantine people. Scipio, however, declined, stating that the Numantines should instead hand over their arms and then themselves and their city to Rome. The Numantine people, upon hearing of his answer, rebelled and killed Avarus, claiming that he must have struck a secret deal with the enemy to save himself. Here the Numantines made their priorities clear. They would rather starve than not fight back, and thus, starve they did. As Appian describes, soon after this, all their eatables being consumed, having neither grain nor flocks nor grass, they began, as it is frequently necessary in wars, to lick boiled hides. When these also failed, they boiled and ate the bodies of human beings, first those who had died a natural death, chopping them into small bits for cooking. Afterwards, being nauseated by the flesh of the sick, the stronger laid violent hands upon the weaker. No form of misery was absent. They were rendered savage in their mind by their food, and their bodies were reduced to the semblance of wild beasts by famine, plague, long hair, and neglect. After reaching such a deplorable state, the Numantines finally surrendered to Scipio. Nevertheless, while claiming to liberty, many of them still chose to end their own lives instead of being subjugated by Rome. All of this touched Appian, who wrote, "Reflecting upon their small numbers and great sufferings, their valiant deeds and long endurance, it has occurred to me to narrate these particulars of the Numantine history." As for Scipio, after the surrender, he completely destroyed the city and was rewarded with the title of Numantinus, for which he would be remembered in history. The Numantine attitude heavily impacted their conquerors' minds, being referred to by many Roman authors, with the best account being that of Appian of Alexandria. In the 16th century, Miguel de Cervantes, widely regarded as the greatest writer in the Spanish language, wrote The Siege of Numantia, a tragedy based on Appian's accounts of the siege, which went as far as being acclaimed as the best tragedy in all Spanish literature. For centuries, the Siege of Numantia has been widely regarded both as a symbol of freedom and unity alike, with the term Numantine resistance becoming a saying amongst Spanish speakers, evoking people heroically fighting for their freedom or victory of the weak over the strong. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for other interesting and often forgotten areas of history. Feel free to join our Discord, and if you're feeling extra generous, we have a Patreon, both linked in the description below.